Hello everyone, my name is Gizem Karabulut. I am product owner in Tridion Docs. Welcome to Tridion Docs 15.3 Bootcamp session. This session is dedicated to organized space and collective spaces. Let me quickly walk you through what I will cover today. I will start with organized space. We will have updates for events and TranslationJob UI. There are changes in filtering, sorting, and preview functions. We worked on accessibility, smart tagging, and package upgrades. Later that, I will move on to collective spaces, and these sections will have font upgrades, OpenAPI integration, and UI changes. I will explain you how we will display conditions in draft space and review space. And in the end, I will present different improvements in various use cases. So let's start with the organized space. With the 15.2 release, we introduce new UX for events and translation jobs. And since then, we have been collecting customer feedback and stakeholder feedback. And with this new release, we are going to introduce some of the solutions to that feedbacks. First one is about the all option under the date modified filter in the events menu. The reason to adding this new date filter is that even though there is an existing cleanup job for the old events log, which are older than the 30 days, for some specific cases, logs still remains there. For example, a translation job, if it's not completed, even though there's a scheduled database cleanup, the log remains there. And without the option all, it's not possible to list this in the list view and not possible to delete these logs from the event logs. So this will enable that. And also we introduce tab view to the events actions detail view. The reason is that previously it was a single page, which starts with the metadata information and continues with the content of the log. But with this tab, we will directly show the content of the log. This is mostly the information our users are looking for in this page. And if they would like to, they can move to the metadata tab. But if there is no content for that log, there is also no tab view. We directly display the metadata. We also gathered feedback for the translation job UI, and these feedbacks were focused on the Create Translation Job wizard. This wizard has several steps, and I will mention the improvements with it. First of all, in the second step, this is for the object type selection. So in the first step, user enters the metadata of the translation job. In the second step, user selects the object types they would like to translate. And most of the user, they don't send image type to the translation. Therefore, we removed image from the default selection in this step. So user can click next button and quickly jump to the language step. In the language step, we were displaying under the source languages, all the languages that are defined in the system. But most of the customer source language is usually one language. Therefore, we changed the logic there. Now this field will check the XML settings, translation XML settings, and there it will check from values in the language path. And we will display only the unique languages here. And if there is only one language in the list, it will be pre-populated in the dropdown. And we will eliminate extra click for that. Similarly, if there is only one template for the source language, it will pre-populate it in the dropdown under the translation template field. And the last feedback we worked on is about the size of the Create wizard. Maybe not for the first two steps, but for the third step, it is useful to have an expand button. We added that one because when the list of the languages is too long, then user needs to scroll down to see the full list. But with this expand option, now they can expand it to the full page, and without scrolling, they can work on it. And also product remembers the state of the model. So the next time it open full page if it's the usage for the last time. Okay. And next, we worked on the filtering, sorting, and the preview. We did some usability improvements here too. So to the all list pages, we added free text input filter. We have front-end filters for grouping the data, but free text input filter will be very useful when user is looking for specific information. So that filter looks all the columns in the list and then find the expected results in the list page. Also, we introduced configuration for the table filters. I mean these front-end filters here. With that configuration, customers can define which filters will be visible by default, which filters will be displayed under the filters drop-down, but not visible by default. Also, they can even configure by saying no allow filter. The column cannot be filtered and will not appear in the filtered list. With this configuration, customers can configure the filters based on their usage, and with less filters, they will have cleaner page, and this will help the usability for the list pages. We introduced another way of sorting to the list page. So we already have the sorted by area. So user needs to select the column and then they can change the sorting based on that. We also introduced sorting to the column header. So the first click to the header sort the table based on that column ascending. The second click change sorting to descending, and the third group remove sorting to the default. Remove the sorting and it goes back to the default one. Currently, it is the group tables do not yet support this functionality. And for the preview, we introduce a new scaling, which is fit the window. Because for the large images, when the default setting, scaling setting was 100%, the image used to be displayed like this. So the user needs to scroll up and down or the horizontal. But with this new scaling option, this is also the new default for the preview in organized space. We display the full picture, and when user needs to see the details, when they need to read the details, they can change the scale to 100% or even higher, and they can review the image like that. Next to that, usability improvements, we have been also working accessibility improvements, and one part of is job is working on our design system, which is Graphene. So we are checking our Graphene components and we do updates on that components to make them align with the Web Content Accessibility Guideline. So our overall goal is enhancing the accessibility across our web products. And currently our products uses both Graphene and Entity design components. Entity is a third-party software. Another goal is to getting rid of third-party system and replace all Entity components with the Graphene ones. And also, while developing a new page, we are more focused on meeting the accessibility requirements. So as I said, we worked on the Graphene components. So this is a nice GIF that shows how the action buttons are changed. So I would say that overall in product, the contrast is improved. Now there's a better visibility and readability for users. The spacing is adjusted, so it's easier to read labels and to be able to click on them. And for the buttons and also for the keyboard navigation, we introduced focus state, and press state. So you will see in the GIF that when it's focused, it's light gray, but when user click it, it's turned to dark gray. It's a feedback to users. Also, we worked for the screen reader and the keyboard support. This is another example. So like before, after. So the focus ring is now much more visible. I think the bigger change is here for the disabled fields. Now the contrast is much better, so it is more readable. You can see here and here comparing to the older version. And we replace entity components. As I said, we introduced new checkbox components. Here we also distinguish the disabled state and active state. It's more visible, as you can see. Next thing is the smart tagging. Smart tagging is an optional paid feature for our products. Now Organized Space also supports it. So it's added to the properties panel. But as I said, first it needs to be enabled from the default settings. And then the suggest tag button appears based on the HDOS link because, yeah, the properties also needs to be in editable state. And it is a good way to get tags for the content, and it improves the classification of the data. There's a slight difference between the usage in draft space and organized space. Draft space uses the content of the topic to get suggestions, but organized space uses the language card ID. But other than that, the look and the feel are same across the applications. And package upgrades. So in Cadence, we are upgrading all open source packages to the latest stable versions. Additionally, we upgraded the graphene packages. And as I said that we are working on replacing entity components with the graphene components, which are more accessible. Now I would like to see you what I explained with the show you what I explained with the live demo. Okay. So I'm in the organized space in terms of the accessibility. So as I said, here the disabled fields are now has better contrast. It's more readable. I'm in the list, and now the buttons have like the focus state and the press state. And we introduce filter items, which is I think very helpful. So instead of scrolling and finding, users can just type it to go what they are looking for. It's an easier way to navigate in the product. And we introduced sorting by clicking the title. So when I click it, you see that it shows here. In the future, we will also work on an indication just next to the title. And the second click changes the sorting to descending, and the third click, it removes and it updates to the default sorting. And I told you that we worked on the preview, which makes preview more usable for the large images. I have an example for that one. So in this view, you see that with the fit to window scaling, I'm able to see the full image at once, but previously it was 100. So I needed to scroll down and up to check the differences. But as I said, for further details and for more detailed images, we have different options to zoom in and zoom out to the details. And I would like to move what we did in the events. We added all options under the date modified, and when I click the all events, okay, list is actually already here. And in that list view, with that option, now it's possible to see really old event logs, older than the 30 days. And with that one, a user can delete it. And I said that we also introduced the tab view to the action details. So the first tab is the content, where we display the details related to that log. And the second one is the metadata. But if there is no data, and let me see, then we directly display the metadata tab. And for the translation job, we worked on the create new translation job wizard. So this was the size of the model, which is overall fine most of the cases, and here the image is deselected from the defaults. So I can go next to the languages part. And here we used to display all languages defined. Now we display the unique value that comes from the translation XML settings, and it's pre-populated because it's single value, but there are multiple templates, so then the user needs to select it. But if it's single, we also pre-populate this one too. Yeah, here when the language list is long, then there's a scroll. To help the user here, we introduce expand to full page button, and with that one, then everything is visible at once. And as I said, the system also remembers the state. So the next one, it opens it full screen. Okay, so we can continue with the collective spaces. Collective spaces, we worked on font upgrades, and we are upgrading to the latest packages throughout the year. And this release will have the Fonto package 8.15. In terms of the changes, there are performance improvements because Fonto introduced a new configuration that enable us to fine-tune load and save batch sizes to get the best performance. Now the document IDs are sent to OpenAPI batches of 100 to locate the next annotation. This used to be 5. As a result, this will improve performance of the navigation in the large publication. Also, they introduced some accessibility improvements for screen readers and other assistive tools. We had a look at the menus in the collective spaces. The reason is that there were some repetition in the menus, and we would like to remove these duplications, and we wanted to make it more easy to use. So these are reordered. Also, to the draft space and review space, we added search to the toolbar. So it's a search and replace and draft space, but it's only, of course, search in the review space. And we worked also on the backend part of the things. We worked on OpenAPI integration in collective spaces. First of all, the reasons of this work is that the XAPI was used by the collective spaces, and XAPI uses Windows.NET full framework, which is not only a legacy technology, but also a blocker for the Linux-based containerization. And it was a private API. Therefore, we wanted to replace it with the OpenAPI. And with that replacement, the architecture has changed. So there is no XAPI call anymore. Comes from organized space, draft space, or review space. These are all utilized OpenAPI. What will our customer notice? So the collective spaces is faster and it's able to support more concurrent users right now. And in addition to that, as I said, it is an enabler for our containerization initiative. As an effect on the configuration, so the Fonto configuration for normalization and navigation title generation moved from web config because it's not existed as a result of the XAPI to OpenAPI work. Instead, there are two XML files are created for these configurations. And also the URLs of the Fonto services are moved from web config to the OpenAPI settings. The set each Fonto schema experience was updated to handle the new configuration files locations. And lastly, Fonto service commandlets are updated to set the ports in the new configuration file. This is the backend part of the work, but together with this work, we also made some changes in the UI. Our goal was to unify the look and feel across collective spaces and organized space, and also unify the components, move them to internal library so that to manage that components centrally. With that goal, we worked on the properties tab. To be able to do that, to move to the OpenAPI for metadata properties, the form builder is moved to the internal libraries. Metadata properties is decoupled from organized space and also moved to the internal libraries. And organized space and collected spaces were updated to use metadata property from the internal library. As a result, smart tagging is also now available in organized space, and from the collective spaces, the React portal was removed. So this is the new properties panel in draft space. It has the same look and feel with the one in the organized space now. And showing the errors has changed. Previously, it was an inline message like that, but now we are going to display this errors with a toast message, and it's more readable because we display full message at once. We work on the annotation filter form because previously it was using the collective spaces on form builder. Now the organized spaces form builder is shared between both applications. That again aligns the UI between the applications. But other than that, it functions the same. And smart tagging now works with OpenAPI, and the design is slightly updated, but the functionality remains same. The other thing is the item selector. The item selector is a standalone component. It's for searching and selecting the objects. It used to use XAPI in collective spaces, and collective spaces and organized space had different item selectors. With the goal of the unification, we decided to remove the one in the collective spaces, and then we needed to work on the open space item selector because there are extra cases needs to be supported in the draft space. These are the search and the preview. We also add new action for creating a new object. This is a new item selector. It has repository tab. It lists the structured content. It also has search tab and the preview functionality. Okay, this is a screenshot of the search. So I would like to explain you more how the search works in item selector. First of all, search respects the defined constraints. So the constraints changes based on the place where the item selector is opened. So the only eligible object types are listed in the search. This is the name of the list definition for the item selector list. Also, depending on where the item selector is used, it does some filtering based on the language. In organized space, it respects users' working language. And draft space, it filters based on publications' working language. And in TranslationJob, in organized space, it filters based on the source language. If an image is searched in organized space, it displays all the resolutions, but in draft space, it displays the system's default resolutions in the results. Previously, in draft space, it was displaying 25 items. Now it lists 500. And the preview is important, especially the draft space, while adding an image to the content. So preview enable user to see more detail. But I would like to say that the font to preview is not used in organized space. So in organized space, we enable user to see the detail via the grid view option. And add new things. So this is for merging, actually, add existing and add new objects in one flow. So with this item selector, if user checks the structured content and if they decide to create a new object to insert, now they can create it by clicking the add new. But to be able to do that, user needs to have modify access to the folder, and the folder should not be a shortcut one. And in draft space, there are extra controls. So the user's working language should be the same as the publication working language. And if it's an image, in the XML settings, the image upload should be yes. Also for the create form can be configured as optional. This is the create form. It can be defined as optional in the metadata configuration XML. In that case, this step is skipped and the object is created without showing the form. Now I would like to move displaying conditions. We worked on both draft space and review space for that one. In the draft space, for conditional content, the outline now shows an indication of what is included or excluded from the published content. Previously, we were only indicating what is excluded, and we were doing it with a strike through. Now we also indicate which topics are included via the condition with a green badge. And also in the document view, now we also display it with a highlight in the topic sheet header. So the included ones are green. And with an icon, we also display the relevant condition information, and the excluded ones are highlighted with red and a different icon. But in the document view, the conditions that are defined to the elements, the logic is totally same. We just updated the icon and we use icon to make it consistent with the outline and topic sheet header view. And in the review space, I would like to say this. Review space by default displays the final document view with applied conditions because our purpose is simplifying the review process for SMEs and we don't want to confuse them. And if customers has a peer review process and the reviewers need to see the conditions, they can use draft space. But on the other hand, we know that the customers that uses the old versions of the product, where it's possible to see the conditions in the review space, some of them are heavily rely on viewing the condition in the review space. And then that becomes a blocker for upgrades. To overcome this problem, we also enabled showing the conditional content in the review space. First, it was released as a hotfix on the top of the Tridion 15.2. And then also it's included to the newer Tridion versions. So it's a hidden configuration. It's not in the XML settings out of the box, but when the show condition enabled is added under the XML settings collective spaces page, then the review space respects this new configuration. And if it's yes, it displays conditional content. And if it's no, or if it's not added, it's not there, it doesn't show it. So when it's not enabled or it's no, you can see there is no conditional content. When it's enabled, it is in the view. It's also same for the outline. When it's not enabled, it's not in the view. But when it's enabled, the conditional content can be seen in the outline. And in the last section, I would like to explain you some use cases we improved and we will release with the 15.3. Now the configuration for draft space and review space can be done independently. To be able to do that, we improved the behavior config XML. And this can allow customer to configure even simpler review space view, for example. There was a problem in draft space, in review space about the footnotes. The problem is that if there's a condition on the content with a footnote, the publishing works fine, but the rendering in review space has a problem. The footnotes were visible, even though that content is excluded. That was fixed. So the rendering in review space also respects the conditions. In draft space, we worked on the table display for the variable references. Some customers can have varID and varref attributes on the table element. And when a table with a variable reference was rendered in draft space, it would continuously expand in width. And it was a broken view. As a solution, we updated the internal configuration for these tables. Now it appears components boundaries. Also, again, related to the variables, in draft space, the insert variable dialog was disabled when the selected element had a required sub-element according to the XML schema. As an example, the table element requires sub-elements, for example, T group. And if it's not present, the model was disabled. As a solution, now the system automatically creates the required sub-elements, and that allows inserting variables. And also for the reusing sub-elements in the draft space, it wasn't possible to reuse a required sub-element. Again, as an example, these are the generic improvements, but I would like to give an example to explain you better. For example, step elements has one required comment inside it. And when writer want to use only the comment part of it, they couldn't select it. So the tool forced them to select the whole step. And we fixed it. Now the required sub-elements can be reused too. And for the inline image rendering part, there were certain scenarios, not always, but in some scenarios, the inline images did not render inline in collective spaces. For example, when it is placed inside a list item or inside the table cell without a child paragraph element, and then it was displayed as a block. To fix that, we did some configuration updates. So we are checking the element if it allows text directly. So image inside it also appear in line. If it doesn't allow text directly, image appears as block frames. But the system always check at placement attribute and actually give priority what's defined there. And also the inline image button now automatically sets sets the placement attribute to the inline while inserting the image. We also improved performance for advanced step and for the variable model. For the large publications, like publications with thousands of topics, in draft space, there was a performance issue when user in the advanced tab or when they try typing when that tab is active. This is now improved. Also, if publication libraries containing like thousands of variables, that cause the variable model to take several minutes to render the variable list, that is also improved. And yeah, let's see things in action. So I'm opening first the draft space. Okay, so we worked on the organization here. We try to simplify it, remove the duplications. As I said, insert component now merge to one button, and we introduce search to the toolbar. It is like search and replace. Okay, also for the draft space, from here I can move to the advanced search tool. It's possible. We unified properties panel with the organized space. Now it has the same look and feel. We did same thing for the annotation filter view too. Now it also looks same. And yeah, I would like to show you the item selector component and how it works now. Let's say I would like to add a component to that topic. This is a new item selector with preview. I can hide the preview. So I can use the repository tab and go and find the topic that I would like to add. Or I can use search if I know what I'm looking for. Let's look, I would like to add change log, and there are multiples. In that case, it's useful to use preview option to see the details. So this is my Genius publication, and this is the topic that I'm looking for. And like that, I can insert it to my editor. Or I can create a new one if it's not what I'm looking for. Let's see, I'm in the Genius topics and the release notes. By clicking the add new and the topic, let's say release notes for 15.3. So first it creates the objects, and then this object is selected automatically. Then I need to click the insert button, and this inserted to my document. And this is how it works here. And lastly, I would like to show you the condition case. Okay, let me expand it to all. This is the draft space and draft space. Yes, this topic has a condition. This topic reference has a condition. So the condition is visible under the icon button. This is for Genius releases higher than release 2. And it is included. It will be in the published content. But that one, based on another condition, it's excluded from the published content. But yeah, in the document view, we continue to display it similarly. We just, as I said, update the icon. If I move to the review space for this publication, Okay, I will again would like to show you the outline. So by default, the setting is not there. It's not enabled, and therefore there is no conditional text. So review space display the final content, but okay, here I can enable it via the XML settings and collective spaces. This line needs to be added there. I added previously to help the demo. And if I turn it to yes, and yeah, I can close this one. And if I reload the review space, now the conditions are visible also in the review space, inside of the document, also in the outline. And this is the end of this bootcamp session. I would like to thank you all taking your time to join this session, and yeah, looking forward to your feedback.